Fellas, things are happening really bad. South Africa is bringing back exhumed bodies of many of its people that were unalive in many different nations, and that's happened during apartheid era. So many bodies of South Africans are being sent back home. Is this a good thing or not? We're gonna find out just now. And then we're going into Congo-Brazzaville, US Congo-Brazzaville. Now, Congo-Brazzaville has signed a deal with Russia. Russia will help Congo-Brazzaville build a pipeline from Pointe-Noire to Brazzaville. You can see on the map, and this is going to change everything for Congo-Brazzaville. What's up, everybody? Hope you're doing good. It's a beautiful day. Thank you very much for stopping by. You are very much appreciated. Hey, this is home. Thank you. Let's get on track. My name is Zack. I don't know who you are, but hey, before we get started, can I ask you to do this? Can we all just do this before we move forward? It costs you nothing. We feel appreciated. Great. Thank you. Let's go. Now, South Africa is determined to repatriate the remains of its people taken abroad during colonial era and those who died in exile. Basically, the government was in contact with foreign institutions over the return of remains of indigenous people, including Khoisan group, who are regarded among the country's first people. So basically, the government of South Africa is doing a lot of work right now, trying to get the bodies of many South Africans that were unalived in foreign nations to get back in South Africa. Is this a good thing or not?
We are in active talks with the Hunterian Museum at the University of Glasgow to return more Khoi and San remains. Our people are all over the world, and this government is caring enough to say, go get the remains of our people.
The government has assigned a team. Okay, there is a team of people who are moving to different countries. They're starting from Angola and Zimbabwe to go check in cemeteries. Okay, they need to check reports on who was buried where, which ones are South Africans, so they can get their bodies exhumed and sent back to South Africa. Is this a beautiful thing or not? Government's team will also visit neighboring countries such as Angola and Zimbabwe to inspect cemetery records to trace people who may have died during the time of struggle against apartheid, so they can be repatriated. Now, Mr. Mackenzie, who's a politician in South Africa, said, "These are acts of justice, remembrance and healing. They affirm our government's commitment to restore dignity, promote cultural restoration, and confront painful legacy of colonialism and apartheid." Pigama coffee. You got Pigama coffee on this one. Yeah. Surely you got Pigama coffee. You don't know what Pigama coffee is? Can somebody explain to the people? Okay, great stuff. Now, it's a beautiful thing to see from South Africa doing this. It's honorable. And Gayton Mackenzie, I believe is his name. That's really noble, even though we know he doesn't like foreigners very much. Well, no, apparently he doesn't like illegal foreigners, not all foreigners. So yeah, nobody likes illegal foreigners creating mayhem. That's another story. Let's stay on track. Now, how did these bodies get all over the place? We all know South Africa's been through the most, okay? South Africa's been through apartheid. Matter of fact is when most African nations were liberated and freed around 1960s. South Africa was still under the shackle of apartheid that basically started or continued, let me say, in 1948. That's when it continued because it already existed. It just didn't have a name, okay? Even though many Africans also suffered, but by 1960s, many African nations were freed. They got independence and freedom. South Africa was still under the shackle. There was a brand new sort of, colonialism that started in 1948. Where it was official. Black people and white people cannot mingle together. They cannot kiss one another as a boy and a girl. Yeah, you go to jail for that. Black people and white people cannot drink water from the same water fountain. It's prohibited. Black and white people could not sleep in the same hotel, not travel in the same, not go to the same schools. It was crazy, bad. Now, during that time, because nobody likes that, okay? End of the day, this is your land. It's supposed to be your land. Somebody comes from elsewhere into your land and force you into submission. Well, some people will fold and say, okay, you know what? Let's just go with the flow. Some people will say no. They'll be angry. That was the case of many South Africans. They left the country because they were too vocal. They were too strong for the apartheid government. They were too dangerous because they were spreading bravery against the oppressor. So they felt the need to leave the country. As you will know, they went in many places, many countries. Some went to Angola, Zimbabwe, Congo DRC. Some went to different places. Some went to Cuba, okay? Some went to Russia. Now, during that time, as you would imagine, people pass away. Okay, so some of them passed away. They're normal. They were normal. Even before apartheid ended, many were no more. Even after apartheid, for those who had created families, because many also made families elsewhere. They had children and stuff like that. Even though their heart was still at home, they were happy for the freedom, but some could not abandon the families they had created. Therefore, now the government is taken a resolution to go get back these bodies of the people, whether you were married or not. I'm not sure about the married people though, because that's a different law. But for those people who are eligible to come back to the lands of Nelson Mandela and many other people, they should go back to the land of Nelson Mandela. So the minister also saluted the return of 58 bodies to be buried.
This is now key actions that we will be taking as the government of national unity. That we will have the reburial of 58 ancestral remains originating from the Northern Cape.
Now, what's particular about these 58 bodies? These 58 bodies are of indigenous people that had been removed from study by museums, okay, and other institutions.
These ancestors were treated like objects and as objects. They were displayed in museums, studied in labs, and held in foreign institutions without consent or respect. We are correcting those injustices now.
So they've removed the bodies from studies and institutions. So some institutions, museums, keeps these bodies of Africans for study purpose. These bodies are shown into museums and people pay money for that. Like I always say, you remember the country you don't name. You know what's happening in Germany, right? So imagine you have the bodies of the country you don't name, people in Germany up until now. What will people say? In Germany, up until now, you still find cranes, or you call it heads, of human beings they took from Africa. They chopped they're in the museums in Germany. But there's no uproar about that. Of course, it's just a bunch of Africans that we took for studies just to examine the head to see how they compare to white people. Now, would you do the same with the country you don't name? No, you wouldn't do that, would you? You're not even authorized to talk about them in some type of way. So the 58 bodies of South Africans are going to be buried with honor and dignity. The worst part is some of these bodies were taken from graves in South Africa to go be studied. They exhumed them from grave to take them to Europe, in Austria and some different places. Like, what kind of sickness is that? Why do you take somebody from their resting space to take them to Europe to be examined? This is crazy. In 1912, for just history purpose, there was a body of a couple, a Khoisan couple. Okay, these are Khoisans. Okay, as you can see, Khoisans are very interesting human beings. They are considered some of the the oldest inhabitants of Southern Africa. Okay, you remember that movie with, just to make it easy for you, that movie where a bottle fell from heaven on somebody's head, right? That man running, yeah, that's a Khoisan man. Okay, they are Khois and sons. So it's a long story. We're not going to get into that. However, there was a remains of a couple, a Khoisan couple, Klaas and Troy Pienaar. They were illegally exhumed in 1909 and shipped to Austria for studies.
Klaas and Troy Pienaar, which had been broken at their knees, placed in a barrel of salt, where they existed as bodies in the museums and scientific institutions of Austria in Vienna until at least 1961.
Now imagine that. Yeah. Exhuming a body of a couple that's laid in peace to take to Australia for studies. I don't know what they're trying to do to see again who is superior to the other. So that's what it is, fellas. Over 1,000 anti-apartheid activists' bodies are buried outside South Africa. 1,000, that's a lot. In many African countries, in also Cuba, while there are specific African countries where they were prominent in number, but they were in many African countries. Now, some of the bodies will be sent back. Now, it's a tremendous work because they have to go through cemeteries, look at the report, look at the repertories, see who was buried here, who was here during what period. Now, one of the biggest thing where there was a lot of South Africans, is also Angola. They're trying to have a deal with the Angolan government. The deal is very simple. They need to go and exhume these bodies. Now, how are they going to do this? Because Angola has an issue. What is the issue? Angola has a lot of mines. You know mines? Yes. Unipersonal mines, the one that explodes when you put your feet on it. It goes boom. So that's during the war that Angola had been through. Angola had about 27 years of war. Savimbi and the other people, Dos Santos. It was bloody war. And at that specific time, there were a lot of South Africans that were in Angola. And also some South Africans were buried. Now, in these burial places, they've placed many mines because when they were fighting, they were really fighting bad. So they've put mines all over the place. What have they done? The Angolan government and the South African government is coming together with an Australian company that's got expertise in demining, so they can demine a big chunk of land where they can go try and find the bodies. Meanwhile, the Angolan government, in a pragmatic move, is negotiating with Australia Demining Company to secure the remaining mines area. Because let's be honest, after 23 years of peace, there's still about 975 minefield to clear. That's not 975 mine, but 975 minefield. So in one minefield, there could be 1,000 miles or more. Now, these mines sow without a plan or map. So they put mines without a plan or map. They just put mines. So you don't even remember where you put them. But the belligerent, now, right up until now, it still unalive about 15,000 Angolans per year. So it's a lot of work to be done there. But hey, congratulations on what? To the South African government, to trying to give honor and dignity to the people that were unalive or they lost their life or whatever. I'm trying to avoid YouTube thing during that time. God bless. Before you go, make sure you drop your comments. And again, YouTube says a lot of you guys watch videos, but you're not subscribed. Why are you not subscribed? You know we want you here. See you next time. Bless.